I don't like the fact that a small portion of our party is pretty much dictating where we are. But we need to take stock of why we are being held hostage to the far left. The woke stuff, the PC police stuff. You'll see Republicans who say they're afraid to say X. I'm afraid to say X. Part of the problem we've had as Democrats is that we have gotten pulled to the left so far that we can't make common sense decisions.
They think that economic message should have been front and center, but that they felt constrained somehow by this focus on identity politics. Tom Suozzi of New York brought that up, talking about Republicans being able to weaponize anarchy on college campuses, defunding the police, and gender questions and girls' sports. Do you think this, movement, woke politics, really was incredibly damaging to the left?
Let's be clear. The party that was focused on culture wars, the party that was focused on trans people, was the Republican Party. It was Donald Trump. It was the $100 million, $200 million that they spent on television ads.
While the liberal media and the Democratic Party establishment continue to play the blame game and point the finger at anyone but themselves, and thankfully progressives are pushing back on those BS attacks they're receiving, Donald Trump and the MAGA loyalists are already getting to work on gutting our country from the inside.
America is for Americans and Americans only.
You have two policy objectives that you proceed with utter determination on. Seal the border, no illegals in, everyone here goes out. That's very straightforward. You would establish large-scale staging grounds for removal flights. So you grab illegal immigrants and then you move them to the staging grounds, and that's where the planes are waiting for federal law enforcement to then move those illegals home. You deputize the National Guard to carry out immigration enforcement.
If you're in the country illegally, you shouldn't feel comfortable. Absolutely not. I won't feel comfortable if I'm in the country illegally. If I'm in some other country illegally, I'm not going to be comfortable. You shouldn't be comfortable either, because when you enter this country illegally, you have committed a crime. You are a criminal, and you're not off the table.
You don't believe in Jim Crow? Whether it's the Lucas case, Tish James, who is a national, who is a radical prosecutor, they are all witch hunts.
The jury found that Donald Trump
They are all witch hunts against President Trump, and the reason why is because he's pulling ahead of Joe Biden, and Joe Biden is the weakest candidate we've ever seen. No, I disagree. No, I don't agree with that. But I support President Trump, and you know what? He is so biased. This is just another example of
These are just some of the notable, deplorable characters that we know of right now joining Trump's second administration. From denying the validity of Trump being found liable for sexually abusing E. Jean Carroll and calling the trial a, quote, witch hunt, to blatant white supremacy and anti-immigrant propaganda that would make a Nazi blush. This is what another 4 years of Trump will look like. And things, unfortunately, people, may get even worse.
I'm a business guy. Successful business guys get things done. I want the Donald Trump agenda implemented. I want his nominees confirmed as quickly as we can get those nominees confirmed so we can get to work. We need to maximize everything we can do to help Donald Trump get his agenda done.
Florida Senator Rick Scott is shaping up to be the most blindly loyal servant to Trump in the Senate.
I'm fed up. I watched what happened to me and my company. I've watched what's happened. I've talked to business people over the years, what's happened to them when you have political persecution. Back in the 90s, I was the lead opponent to Hillary Care, Hillary Clinton's health care. After it was defeated, she used the Justice Department to go after me and my company. This can't continue. What's happening to this president is wrong.
Regardless of how long ago it may have been, bringing up your old crimes as a political candidate is never a good idea.
In 1997, Rick Scott was forced out as head of the biggest hospital chain in the country. Scott's company ended up getting totally nailed for committing Medicare and Medicaid fraud. They paid the largest fine ever paid to the government, $1.7 billion.
It's not so innocent.
Rick Scott himself never went to prison. He, in fact, made off with about a $10 million golden parachute, even as he was being forced out.
It's the first step in government control over your healthcare choices.
Columbia, then known as Columbia HCA, it's now HCA Healthcare, billed Medicare, Medicaid, the Defense Department's TRICARE health system program, and the Federal Employees Health Benefits Program for lab tests that were not medically necessary or not ordered by physicians. The company attached false diagnosis codes to patient records in order to increase reimbursement to the hospitals. The company illegally claimed non-reimbursable marketing and advertising costs as community education. Columbia billed the government for home health care visits for patients who did not qualify to receive them. And so, fraud, it's Medicare fraud. They got a bunch of money for stuff that wasn't necessary or didn't happen the way they were saying. It's just classic Medicare fraud, violating the Medicare anti-kickback statute. Basically, they provided kickbacks to physicians that played ball with them, conspiracy to defraud the US, and false statements to the US in connection with the submission of false cost reports to Medicare. Rick Scott, who whistleblowers alleged had to know about all of what was happening with the 2 sets of books that the company was maintaining, ended up leaving the company with a $5.1 million severance package, $300 million in stock, and a $950,000 per year consulting contract for 5 years. I guess they were very worried once he left that they wouldn't have the on-site expertise when it came to perpetuating Medicare fraud. They wanted to make sure that they had him on retainer.
He founds this company in 1987. A federal investigation starts taking place in 1997, which is basically the hospital company that he is running is basically paying for referrals to get these kickbacks, which is a crime. You can't pay for kickbacks to get the provision of healthcare services. And he's doing this across the board. Rick Scott, though, enters into this $1.7 billion settlement for the fraud that his company committed. He gets a $300 million golden
$300 million for stealing from Medicare.
The fact that Rick Scott is genuinely trying to ascend to one of the most important positions in Congress is absurd. The man oversaw, let me be clear, he oversaw one of the biggest medical frauds in history. And yet, he could be on the verge of being named the Senate Majority Leader. This is what we talk about. When people get to do whatever they want, you commit these crimes, and there's really no, you're moving up. You are moving up in the ranks. So what are the true repercussions? What are the true consequences? You get to still live your life and be in great positions of power? No. Democrats have been so ineffective over the years in defeating the terrible candidates Republicans nominate, in part because, one, people love racism and sexism in this country a lot more than a lot of people thought, right? That's part of it. That's not the only reason why, but that's part of it. Another reason, Democrats play way too nice sometimes, way too nice. They have been the party of, oh, we're going to be above what the Republicans do. We're not going to stoop down to their level. But sometimes you have to do that. And it's not stooping down to level. It is defending yourself and fighting fire with fire to let people know you're not going to be disrespected, okay? You are not going to be treated as if people can walk all over you and you still putting your hand out to shake with them. Okay? That's not it. Another reason why is, in this latest case with Vice President Kamala Harris and Tim Walz, she only had a little over 100 days to drum up all the support to become the next president of the United States. And that was because of President Joe Biden taking as long as he did to step down from the race against Donald Trump. If she had more of a runway, we could be in a different position right now. And I also think that these Democrats, they need to listen to their constituents. A lot people just want to be heard. And I think sometimes, maybe a majority of the time, Democrats, because it definitely happens with Republicans, Democrats, they feel like, or these candidates say things that make you think they're above their voters, which is never good. Remember, at the Democratic National Convention, Vice President Kamala Harris, her team, they did not allow a person from the Palestinian side to talk. That's a problem. That's a problem. Okay? Another reason why, look at the fact that Vice President Kamala Harris trotted out Liz Cheney to try to get support from Republicans, from the right. That was a bad move. That was a bad move. And people are not on the same page. So there are a number of things, right? The strategies are off. There's definitely internal corruption. And the candidates have not been as strong in some cases. So those are all things. And then again, racism and sexism plays a role, especially in this latest election. It's true. For Rebel HQ, I'm Chris Williamson. We'll see you next time.